Hello and welcome to the 5-0 Podcast, your number one podcast for the Smash CPU Ultimate Draft League. I'm MaxSchersey and I am joined by Mike.
Hello.
I wanted to point out, last week I said that I did not look at VivTech's 2025 stat sheet yet during the viewer question segment. He corrected me earlier this week and pointed out that it is actually the same sheet that he keeps posting with consolidated data that keeps being added on top of each other. It's not separated out year by year. Trying to not spread misinformation on the pod, if at all possible. So apologies about that. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm pretty tired right now. It's been a long day, but I'm excited to record. Pretty crazy week this week. I don't know if it was as crazy as week 4, especially with all those unbeaten teams going down that week, but got a lot of good results to get into. Divisional play. It's coming up soon.
Coming up.
Oh man, the real season begins now. Whew. I am excited.
The real season's about to start and 10 teams aren't going to make it there? Oh my gosh. Learn how that happened in your weekly match recap. When Soul and Wave faced off last year, it was all she wrote for Wave season, and it might be the other way around this year as Wave wins 6-6. He wins the Schultz Ditto in singles, and then takes close sets in stamina and doubles to close it out. Sickest is the one to hand Jaguar his first loss, 7-5. Sickest's Yoshi gets a close win in Final Smash over Sword Fighter, and his Sephiroth Mewtwo team wins 2-0 over Jaguar's Sephiroth Yoshi. By the way, Sickest Sephiroth and Mewtwo doubles team now 5-0 on the year, undefeated in that mode. Gold DXJ is working 12s, call that a 6-6 win over Tribal. Gold's Nest continues to put in work in stamina, and his Little Mac beats Inkling in singles in this one. On Tribal's end, this is a tough loss because he has Wii Fit on the bench this week, and he had the filler in squads, and he loses 6-6. That's a what if that's really got to sting in that situation. Koishi is having a special year right now. She moves to 5-0, beating Orchid 9-3. Early season Ridley. It ain't early season anymore. It's week 5, and Ridley is still winning. And her squad's team with the filler character not only wins, but wins 2-0 over a squad's team without a filler. What are we doing? Oh yeah, and K-Roll was on the bench this week. Crimson takes a nail-biter over Camazot 6-5. His DK solidly beats Falcon in singles. Rob barely holds on against Ken Masters in Final Smash. And that third set win waited until squads to make it interesting. VivTech smokes Tungi 8-3. I think good team, bad team is maybe a little unfair right now because Tungi moves to 3-2 with this loss. But yeah, Tungi's lineup was just not good this week. And obviously, VivTech's was. He continues to just beat everybody. Weeb gets back on track with a win over Leo 9-5. This one was closer than the score looks. The first 3 events were all 2-1s in Weeb's favor. Leo is still looking for answers in singles, even after replacing Little Mac recently. Mike beats Gemini with a fake 7-6. This was a real spicy set, back and forth. Weird lineup decisions that work out, but everyone knows that Mike's squad's team always clutches it out in the end, and it happens this week. Mr. Wiggles drops a 10 bomb on Uh-Oh I Shitted, and he had a random lineup. Uh-Oh also had a random lineup, but funny how that works. Funny how that works out. Tongue twister, folks. Septo beats Giraffe 9-5. Terry in Final Smash beats Yoshi 2-0. Honestly, I'm kind of starting to believe the Yoshi haters a little bit this year because he keeps taking losses, but I don't know. People forget Terry's pretty good in that mode. Septo's Cloud also beats Aegis in stamina. Giu fake 7-6 is JNP man, random versus random. Ryu beats Wii Fit in Final Smash. That's fun, I guess. Mini Squix beats Akagi 7-5. This was almost an insane comeback from Akagi, but Squix closes it out in squads to secure the win. Tep beats Sunday 7-4. Daisy is in Final Smash and Ike is in Stamina in this one, and they both win. That's right, people. The competition wasn't too tough, really, but I love my quirky lineup choices on the program. Will those be mainstays for Tep going forward? We'll have to see. Corvette slays Corey 2016. The Dragon goes down with a fake 7-6. Min Min actually wins a set in singles in this one. Have we been too hard on Min Min the past year or so? And by we, I mean me. I think I'm the only hater here, really. Also, Ganondorf and Terry beat Bowser and Yoshi 2-0 in doubles. Sure, why not? H-Kun beats Bren 9-4. Good team, bad team. H-Kun's back in the win column this week. Krillin is off 0-12 watch as he beats user 9-5. Daisy once again makes an appearance in Final Smash and wins over Chrom. Also, Krillin random rolls Ice Climbers and Stamina, which is just the type of material that you should expect in a username is hard set. It makes it must watch every week. Theo beats Ridley 8-4. Ridley is still on 0-12 watch. Yoshi beats Pokemon Trainer and Stamina. Is that an upset? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know if BT is really that good. Stamina, we'll see. I don't know. Parkour is working 12s. Call that a 6-6 win over Ice. Lucario beats Cloud and Stamina in this one. Have we even really seen Lucario and Stamina that much? What can't this guy do? Can he just do everything? The Unstoppable Force met the Immovable Object this week as Omar Gosh beat the Quavius 9-4. Omar takes the first 3, which makes sense because that's his formula. ZSS subs in for Hero and Final Smash on the random poll, which is pretty lucky. I'm not gonna lie. I beat V 7-5. Punish Venom Incineroar picks up another win in Final Smash this week. And there's a pretty good clip that Mike posted with the ending to squads. VLRA starts to close out the match. Go check that one out. That's pretty good. Adrian beats Base 9-2. Good team, bad team. Pac-Man gets put in singles this one. He doesn't win. But his doubles replacement, Ridley, does still win with Pac-Man's usual partner, Lucina, in doubles. Truck Mud beats KJ 9-5. KJ pulls a pretty decent lineup here, but Truck Mud's team wins anyways in the first 4 and expertly avoids the Ice Climbers Ditto and Stamina by benching Ices and putting Corrin there, and Corrin wins accordingly. Veteran move from Truck Mud there. Smet beats Dusty 8-5. Sonic and Final Smash has been putting in work for Smet this year. This week picks up a 2-0 win over Palutena. That's been a good character. And finally, Blaine takes a fake 7-6 over Coach J. This one came down to a nail biter in squads, and also Mario taking a close 2-1 over Olimar in Stamina. Bonus segment! Woo woo! All the 1-4 teams that are declared dead this week: Soul, Orchid, Jade, P-Man, Akagi, Sunday, Bren, V, Dusty. That is 10 teams dead. 38 teams remain. Next check-in will be after week 7. And that's this week's matches in the Ultimate Draft League.
Nice recap as always, Max. I gotta say, I know we've had so many matches end 7-6 this year, but another score that I've been picking up on that we've had a lot, 9-5. We have had a ton of 9-5 this year. Jeez. All right, but with that, I think it's time we get into some divisional talk this week. I know I think I yapped a bit too long last week. We'll try to cut it down this week. Let's just get straight into it. Starting off in the B conference with the Vent division. VTech and HQ just continuing to run the show as they have been all season, honestly. Even HQ still getting right back into the win column this week with a nice win over Bren. And VTech still doing his thing. Would have been a 10 bomb for VTech this week if it wasn't for... I think it's surprised you didn't point out, though, in your recap, we had Sephiroth over Steve in FS. I don't know. That was interesting to see. And then
that was funky.
And then just looking out, it's the 3rd annual battle for Seattle this week. It's easily the highest stakes we've had going into it, despite it probably being the lowest point the rivalry has been at.
They're both actually good teams this year.
Yeah, so it should be, again, easily the highest stakes. One of them's going to 4-2 this week. It should be really fun. Spoiler alert, it is the main event. But this time, I think it actually is fully deserved. And then just Giraffe falling to bottom in this division right now. He absolutely just taking a crushing loss to Septo this past week. Really needs to beat H-Kun this week before things start to spiral. Moving on to the Fish division. 0-6 combined record in a week for a division is always going to be a rough look, as the Fish division went 0-6 against the Franklin division this past week. Honestly, kind of surprised you called Soul dead, because I know he's 1-4, but I think he's pretty fortunate to be in the one division where he reasonably could make a comeback at 1-4. I mean, second half Seoul. I mean, I need to like look up the records here, but like
Yeah, I know. I've been proven wrong counting Soul out before. I like wanted to hesitate, but I'm like, honestly, dude, 1-4 after 5 weeks. I just gotta stick with my guns and
yeah,
say
that's
that's
fair.
like really hard to
That's
come
fair.
back.
That is fair. But again, this is like the one division where he could, honestly. So we'll see how that goes. Ice versus User, a massive match this week that actually I don't even think I have listed for the undercard. That's how stacked this week is. But how is one of these teams going to be 2-4? I have no idea. That one should be pretty hype though. Then moving on to the Soup division. Koishi is taking a substantial lead right now, but how long will she be able to maintain it once divisional play starts here? Will she be able to keep it up? Will there be a bit of a fall off? We shall see. This first match, divisional match against Omar Gosh this week, should answer a lot of questions. The loser of Tribal and Weeb this week, it's definitely not a guarantee, but they may already be out of the running for the divisional crown with how this is shaping up. It Especially if Tribal ends up losing, get third loss in a row to go to 3
Yeah,
and
if
3.
Tribal loses, that's gonna be hard.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to catch Koichi at this current pace. Again, we'll see how things start to shape up once more divisional play happens. And Omar Gosh is in the top 3 of the division right now, folks. The 9-3 dream is still alive.
Still alive.
Well, it'll be put to the test this week again when he takes on Koichi, but we shall see. Then moving on to the Baymax division. Sickest with this week, I think he's easily in like the B conference frontrunner conversation now. Even though his differential isn't nearly as high as VTech or Koichi, and he does have the one loss, I still think just with the skill that like and the skill this team's been operating at these last few weeks, I think I would not be shocked if he were to. I would not be shocked at all if he did match up with them too in the playoffs, say, and then did end up beating them. I wouldn't really call that like a huge upset by any means. Tep's still appearing to be in that gatekeeper role right now, but he's still keeping himself in pretty clearly in the divisional race, only one game behind Sickest. Gonna need to get some big wins in the second half of the season if he wants to leapfrog Sickest. We'll see how that plays out. And then unsurprisingly, Blink separating himself from the rest of the bottom pack in this division. It makes sense. He's the only non-random lineup within that bottom 4 of this division. So he's got a huge match against Sickest this week. If he can beat Sickest this week, that changes the dynamics of this division big time. So you're saying earlier about the lineup quirks and all that. Bling has definitely been one to have many lineup quirks this season that have
Absolutely.
yeah, that have had very mixed results. So we'll see how that works this week, though. And then moving on to the B conference playoff picture currently, it's the same 9 teams as last week, just the order shuffled around a little bit. VTech and Koichi, the rivalry match from 2024, the top 2 currently, the 2 remaining unbeaten teams. Sickest and Corey, 3 and 4. Again, looking like how it was in the Alpha Conference last year with those 2 fighting for the 3rd and 4th seeds throughout the season. H-Kun remaining in 5th. Weeb up to 6th now. Omar Gosh up to 7th. Crimson remains in 8th, and Tribal slides down to 9th, but he's still currently in the top 9. Then moving on to the P Conference with the True Division.
True!
There we go. It's a tough loss for Jaguar this week, but still has a huge chance to take a pretty good lead in this division this week as he is playing Jade, the current 2nd place in the division. But conversely, Jade could overtake the division lead this week, seemingly out of nowhere, honestly. I know we've been paying a bit of attention to Jade, but that all of a sudden, Jaguar could be out of the division lead this week. We shall see. And then, with the remaining teams in this division, fellow co-host Max starting to bounce back, but Squix and Jihu might make this division more competitive than once thought. Jihu's team really isn't that bad, honestly. Would I call it like good? Again, it's a random lineup, but like Jihu's definitely better than last year for sure. Got a lot better of characters on the team this year, so even with the even with it only being a $23 team, like Wario, Sora, Hero, Mewtwo, and PT in a random lineup.
Pieces.
Yeah, so I definitely wouldn't sleep on Jihu by any means. And then yeah, Squix's team just A lot of explosive characters again. No pun intended, or maybe pun intended. I don't know. Again, we'll see. So many again with all these divisions. So many questions are about to be answered as this week starts. Moving on to the Pain division, Adrian slides right into that current top spot in the division by 1 differential. But as we all know and have seen with this division, you got to keep performing to maintain the lead here. And it's a huge match this week as Adrian will be playing Uh-Oh.
First week, Uh-Oh's not in first place, right?
Gold was in first last week.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Speaking of Gold, Gold's team is truly legitimate this year.
No, it's really good.
Another marquee win under the belt over Tribal. Back-to-back weeks over the couple Truck Meta and Tribal. So, yeah, like this team is solid. Very. It seems like Gold has been a static lineup these past few weeks, which again, it's not putting in lineups every week, but still a far cry from random lineup every week. So, and then Uh-Oh's mistakes continuing to haunt them this week again, just forgetting to put a lineup in again, and it kind of hurts even more when Mr. Wiggles didn't put a lineup in either, and then his random lineup just 10 bombs you. That hurts, but again, golden opportunity to make things right this week against Adrian. Could potentially get right back up to the top of the division. And then just quickly just touching on Leo and Orchid, just very frustrating seasons so far for the two of them.
Very.
These are two teams that, even though they're the two bottom teams of the division right now, I'm expecting them to get. I wouldn't be surprised if either of them finish with at least 2 divisional wins this year. So we shall see how that plays out. Then the Franklin division. On the you had one. If you have one division going 0-6, you have one division going 6-0 in a week, and it was the Franklin division. It does going 6-0 just does wonders for division's competitiveness overall. Theo versus Wave, absolutely monumental match this week, especially with how close this division is, especially with Parkour keeping up towards the top of the division right now as well, with a huge win over Ice this past week. Just 4-3-2 teams. It's looking crazy. Corvette and Krillin, they're likely going to be here to cause chaos. I'd be shocked if either of those two teams end up winning the division. But it's not impossible to make a comeback. But yeah, it's hard to make that comeback when all 4 teams above you are 3-2. We'll see how much chaos they end up causing though as divisional play starts. And then finally the Waters division. Kamazats and Tungi stumbled this past week, but it hasn't hurt them too much in the grand scheme of things. Like, they're still the top 2 teams in this division, but it does allow Truckmud to get right back into the front runner conversation, tying them all up at 3-2 apiece. And this past week was the first week it looked like Septo's team finally woke up. And we'll see if he can continue this momentum and potentially snatch this division crown in the second half of the season. Again, his roster, again, definitely another one where it definitely doesn't really look like a 2-3 roster right now. But maybe some little shifts around. Like you said, Terry and FS got a huge win over Yoshi this past week.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud seemed to finally wake up in stamina after being kind of a bum so far this season. Not going to lie. At least compared to his preseason expectations. So we'll see if that keeps up. And then finally, the P Conference playoff picture. Jaguar, despite the loss, remains in number 1 spot. Adrian slides up to number 2. Kamazat's still retaining his division lead in 3rd place, and I remain in 4th. Gold down to 5th. Jade up to 6th, or remains at 6th. Sorry, Tungi slides down to 7th. Uh-Oh remains at 8th, despite losing by 7 this past week, and Mini Squick slides into the 9th place slot. And that is it for divisional talk this week.
Exciting stuff. Does that mean it's time for viewer questions?
I think it's time for some viewer questions. We got we got 3 this week.
That's stupid.
Yeah, that was.
What was the first question?
Let's just keep this segue going. Why not? The first question is from Wave. Currently, what's your favorite developing storyline as we close in on the halfway mark of the season?
lot of ways to answer this question. I'm going to answer it in terms of not characters or like meta because we get that question like all the time every
Yeah.
week. I want to talk about teams. Um, I'm gonna like mentally just not talk about the teams I consider dead. I guess though I still think like Orchid starting 1-4 is fucking crazy to me. But
Hmm.
on the positive side of things, I think the story is, especially as we get further into the season, right? Omar Gosh and our man Don Dolt here,
You stole
Kamazat.
mine.
It's it's them because the lineups are good, but what's going to happen once the randoms start coming in and messing things up? Because they're
Yeah.
both relying on the top three to just be really good and win, and that could be like I don't want to say an insta loss, but like that might make their teams a lot worse. But those top three are good. If that doesn't happen, I'm very curious how that shakes up, personally.
I know. It's like I thought of actually a pretty good comparison earlier today after Wave sent in this question because again this honestly was my answer too with Omar and Kamazats. They feel like a more threatening version of Corey 2016. I think that's like
Yeah,
the most like accurate comparison I could think of because like Corey last year, it was like yeah Corey like he ended up winning that division that absolute just mess of a division, but it was like even as like the wins started to pile up, you knew like maybe he gets a playoff win, and then like not much further. Like we knew Corey wasn't gonna win it all. With Omar and Kamazats, with how like solid their lineups are, especially Omar's honestly, uh I I wouldn't be terribly surprised if either one of those two ended up making a deep playoff run. Like I really wouldn't. Even with how stacked some of these like top divisions, like top teams are in each conference, it's just again, Omar's the only team so far to have beaten Sickest. He was very close to beating Jaguar. It's crazy. If I did have to throw in another answer though, just real quickly, I do like seeing some of these teams that like have either been like kind of just borderline like mediocre or just bad teams of years past just finally starting to get results. Like I said, Gold earlier,
yeah,
four and
totally.
one, Wave, not Wave. Well,
Well,
Wave's redemption arc, but I meant to say Weeb. Uh, Weeb up to 4 and 1,
yeah, the
contending for
Wii
divisional.
breakout season's been a fun storyline for sure.
Yeah, so definitely. All right, then I think moving on to the second question from Adrian. We got, as divisional play starts, we got it. There hasn't been much of like a divisional like conference rivalry like the Alpha Omega last year, but maybe the start ignites it right here. Adrian asks, which conference do you think is doing better overall so far?
All right. Yeah, this classic instigator question.
I do
I
have the
think
stats.
Franklin Division won 6-0 this week,
Yeah.
so that's
Oh, I
fine.
know. For once, we're actually on the same like side of this argument now. We're both in the same
Oh,
conference.
that's true.
But
None of
no,
us are arguing B. Let's make this very clear. Under
well,
no
I
circumstance.
did I did look up the interconference records so far, like the record
Yeah.
interconference matches, and the B conference is up 25-23 currently.
Okay, so that's actually pretty close.
Mm-hmm. It's
Okay, if I look at this seriously, right, it's let's see. There's like two crazy divisions in B, like Vent and Soup, and then
mm-hmm.
Baymax and Fish are like mid. And then in P, uh
I think I
it's like more balanced.
yeah, I think P
Yeah.
conference has more depth, while B conference has more like heavy hitters. Like I feel like being completely honest, I feel like if you did like a 12v12 with teams, it like a top 12 versus top 12, B conference probably takes it, but if you do like a 24 versus 24 at the moment, I feel like P conference might be a bit more favored. I know it's kind of crazy to say that B has the overall like head to head, but obviously it depends more on like which teams get matched up against who, stuff like that. It is very close to call though. I am super excited at like the All Star game should actually be happening this year, even if it happens after the season, like the playoffs end.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really competitive and exciting.
I
So
need to have a character good enough to make the All-Star team if that's actually happening. But I'll lock it in. I care about that more than my actual team.
uh, All Star game. Like you said, I mean, like you said already,
I
sick.
miss Olimar. Can we bring him back to the 2024 team, please? I miss him.
I mean, you already said like Sickest is 5-0 in doubles right now, dude. He's making a good, strong candidate for first
True.
team B conference. Oh man. All right. And then final viewer question for the week from Ice. Do you think there is any natural way to encourage trades more, or might it be impossible for each player to see eye to eye on character value? Hmm.
So there's two ways. One, we're never gonna do, which is rosters carry over to next
Yeah.
year, so people can sell for next year. Is an obvious one. Uh, other one I think is, I mean, honestly, like how you get there is another question, but there would be more room for salary flexibility if everyone didn't hit the cap and a lot of people didn't have fillers coming out of the draft, right?
Yeah.
So when it was that case, you would have to match salary for salary perfectly, and that makes it difficult. But when there's cap room, like someone wants to drop cap or someone wants to take on cap, I think it's a lot easier. Like I can think of if the cap limit wasn't a factor, a lot of trade offers I would have sent out for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone else is everyone else is at 30 out of 30, so can't really have much wiggle room.
I think another way to do it. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you really want to like raise the cap, but like I'd say another way is like if we did have make it so you could have more than 9 characters on a team, I guess. But that gets that gets pretty rough with bench system and stuff like that. Uh,
Right. 31 out of 31. Clarify.
yeah. Trying to it is tough. Yeah.
It's funny because last year the problem was, and the year before, the problem was like uh that there's like a clear like depending on your team, like people that you would want out of the +3, +2, +1,
Mhm.
0.
Yeah.
And if it's not a very specific trade, it just doesn't even help you really. Like it's super hard to find a match for that reason because of the tier restriction. And now it's a salary restriction. It's the same idea, kind of, but it's like it's taking a different shape this time.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I guess another way to do it is maybe to raise it so it's more of each character. I guess I don't know. It is tough. This is definitely like a
No, maybe probably the opposite.
opposite,
I
maybe
would say
lower of each character. Yeah.
lower because right now there's like enough decent options in free agency also. This has also been the problem in past years as well. Like there's I don't know. Like I'm looking right now, I see people available in like every single money tier in free agency right now. You know what I mean? Like if that wasn't the case and let's say the only way to drop cap would be to trade with someone, might see more trades, right?
That's true. Yeah. I feel like this is definitely more of an off-season question, but I mean, I do still appreciate Ice asking this to get us thinking about it, like because it's never too early to really
Definitely.
start thinking about it. Because yeah, again, like you said, that has been like the main problem each of these last few years. Besides that, that one 5-team mega trade that happened after the draft, like in 2023.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Tried to do it again this year, but guys wouldn't let me have Mewtwo. Sad. Sad. I call this breakout. It's fine. No big deal.
I mean, we do have this question did come at a pretty good time. We do have two trade offers already on the table. Uh, that people have put out for this week, heading into this week. So we'll see if any people end up picking that one up or not, picking those up. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. This half hour went by very quickly.
Yeah. Good pod. We covered a lot. Division play is starting soon. And that's it for the 5-0 podcast. Thank you all again for tuning in. Forgot to say that.
Yeah, it's just two reminders. One, week six's matches will be split into 2 weeks to accommodate for the marathon. But as a result, there will be 3 streams this for week 6 rather than 2. So 1 stream this week. I mean, there's a decent chance, especially because the stream might be earlier than usual, like within the week that the stream has already come out before this episode. We shall see. I don't know. But then the normal 2 streams next week. So like undercard, main card then. So yeah, super excited. We got a just very eventful 2 weeks coming up in Smash CPU in general. Super hype.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of the 5-0, and we'll see you guys soon.